Welcome to the Rational Review. This is your host, Big John. Trump cannot take your birthright citizenship from you. If you already have birthright citizenship, he cannot take it from you. All right, let's get into this. So, this right here has got people going crazy. What does the Supreme Court's ruling on birthright citizenship mean? They did not rule on that. So, this is kind of a false question. Let's see what they got to say.
It says if you're born in the United States, you're a U.S. citizen, but President Trump doesn't think so. Here's the breakdown. President Trump signed an executive order when he took office again to end birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship means if you are born in this country, possibly to parents who are in the country illegally, you are still considered a U.S. citizen. So what happened today? The U.S. Supreme Court ruled 6-3, saying some federal judges are overstepping their powers and should not be able to issue a nationwide block. President Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi held a press conference.
So that was what they ruled on, that judges cannot overstep their authority. You know, it's ridiculous. We elect a president to do things, and then we have district court judges that can just overrule the president. It's ridiculous. It's not their job. Never has been.
Immediately after that ruling, basically celebrating it as a big win. But the Supreme Court did not rule on the merits of it. Basically, they did not say if Trump's executive order is constitutional or not. Attorney General Pam Bondi told the media that she thinks the Supreme Court will rule on if it's legal or not later this fall. The 14th Amendment says,
yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. This guy is just kind of purposely misleading. No, they did celebrate like it was a victory because it was a victory. It was a victory for all the stuff that a president tries to do, Democrat or Republican. No matter which, it's happened on both sides. It's happened on both sides. We have a Democrat president, and we have people going to very conservative judges to issue nationwide injunctions. And then, we have a conservative Republican president. We have a whole bunch of Democrats doing the same thing. It goes both ways, and it just slows the government to a halt. It keeps the presidents from doing what they were voted for. So it's kind of stupid, for lower court judges that were not elected officials. We're not elected by the people to make these changes. But yeah, this guy, he's trying to conflate the ruling with birthright citizenship. It's like that they haven't decided on that. Pam Bondi says no, they're going to be probably ruling on that in October. They might do it any minute because they're not, they don't have anybody telling them when the Supreme Court has to do it. So the Supreme Court can pretty much decide to do it when they want to. But they haven't decided on that. All they decided on was that lower court judges could not, keep the whole country from doing something when the president or the executive branch decides. So, let me know how you feel about that. Because I honestly agree with it that lower court judges shouldn't be able to. And we'll find out more about birthright citizenship probably in the year. But remember, like I said, if you already have birthright citizenship, there's no way they're going to take it from you. There's no way they're going to take it from you. How could they take it from you? We have a long-standing practice in this country of what most people refer to it as the grandfather clause. People, if you break the law today, or if you do something today, and then there's a law tomorrow that says you can't do that, they can't come back and charge you with a crime because the law wasn't made till tomorrow. So I don't see any way of them going back and taking citizenship from people that already have it. Here's another one that the Supreme Court ruled on: the new deportation to third world countries, stating that, yeah, you can deport people to third world countries. But what most people aren't saying is that's if their country won't take them back. They left their country, and their country's like, no, we do not want them back. No, you cannot send them here. So they're being sent to other third world countries that will take them now.
The Supreme Court says migrants with criminal records will be deported, but they won't necessarily be sent to their home countries. A judge ruled yesterday that certain migrants could be sent to countries willing to accept them, including Panama, Costa Rica, Libya, and South Sudan. Critics warn that this could violate international law and put migrants at risk of torture or worse. Supporters say it's about tightening security. The Supreme
So one of the things here is let's see if we can find it in here again. It's a short video, but they're saying that criminals,
but they won't necessarily be sent to their home countries.
See,
a judge ruled yesterday that certain migrants could be sent to countries willing to accept them, including Panama, Costa Rica, Libya, and South Sudan. Critics warn that this could violate international law and put migrants at risk of torture or worse. Supporters say it's about tightening security. The Supreme Court says migrants with criminal records will be deported.
Migrants with criminal records. Migrants with criminal records. So, first of all, yeah, they're all illegal to begin with, but with criminal records, yeah, they got criminal records. Their countries don't want them back. So we're sending them somewhere else. That's great. Here's a little bit what I was talking about. This is the press conference here talking about where they're celebrating.
Americans are finally getting what they voted for. No longer will we have rogue judges striking down President Trump's policies across the entire nation.
Or any other president in the future, Democrat or Republican.
No longer. Today, in the 6-3 opinion, Justice Barrett correctly holds that the district court lacks authority to enter nationwide or universal injunctions. These lawless injunctions gave relief to everyone in the world instead of the parties before the court. As the Supreme Court held today, they turned district courts into the imperial judiciary. Active liberal judges have used these injunctions to block virtually all of President Trump's policies. To put this in perspective, there are 94 federal judicial districts. 5 of those districts throughout this country held 35 of the nationwide injunctions. Americans are...
And I don't care what side you're on, Democrat, Republican, we all know which 5 jurisdictions those rulings came from. Yeah, we all know that they were from Democrats. Okay, and then if we had a Democrat president, they'd be coming from Republicans. Yeah, Democrats abused this a lot more than Republicans have, but it's good for both sides. It's good for everybody. Here's a lady that's going to try to explain, in other words, what went on today, too. And she's going to kind of say the same thing I did with some of the caveats of the ruling.
The Supreme Court just ruled, generally, no single federal judge can issue a nationwide injunction to block a president's actions, like an executive order, even if technically that order is unconstitutional.
Now, see, that is just personal opinion. Okay, because these judges don't have the right to say that something's unconstitutional. That's the point. That's the point. That's for the Supreme Court and Congress and stuff to decide.
Now, this is the most important case of the term, and it will absolutely impact you because the conservative supermajority of the court just gave all presidents even more power. So you better be paying attention, especially because, as you know, President Trump does a lot through executive order. And now every president after him is also going to be doing a lot through executive order.
Yes, and the executive orders, if they're not made permanent by Congress, the next president that comes in can get rid of those executive orders. The Supreme Court ruled on that too. They did that a while back.
In this 6-3 ruling, the justices said injunctions can only be super narrow and can really only be limited to those who are suing. That means President Trump and every president after him can issue executive orders, and federal judges have very little power to stop him or her from impacting the entire country with that order.
Yeah, that means they can only affect their district. So, like California judge rules, no, this is unconstitutional. Okay, they can offer an injunction that only affects California. Okay, and then it goes to the Supreme Court to decide after that. Okay, and that I think is the way it should be.
All of the conservatives were in the majority and all of the liberals dissented. The majority opinion was written by Justice Amy Coney Barrett. She says that no one individual federal judge technically has the legal power to issue a nationwide injunction. She writes,
I really love the way this lady is, the body language and the tone inflection and stuff. Just how she's talking, you can tell she's a Democrat. You can tell she's a Democrat and hates that this happened because she knows the Democrats' playbook is to do this the whole time President Trump's in. I mean, come on. Last time President Trump was in, what did Congress do? They tried to impeach him all 4 years. All 4 years. That's all they worked on. They didn't work on anything else.
Right. Some say that the universal injunction gives the judiciary a powerful tool to check the executive branch. But federal courts do not exercise general oversight of the executive branch.
That's
They
right.
resolve cases and controversies consistent with the authority Congress has given them. When a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power to. Now,
Yeah, that's exactly why they ruled this way, because you're not supposed to have individual judges, once again, that were not elected officials, not elected by, they were put in power, like in California. A lot of these judges were put in power by the governor or some other Democrat. It's like, come on. And then you have other, conservative states that have the same with Texas. They got a lot more conservative judges, I think. It's like, yeah, it's not for them to overrule the president. Now, they can try to say, hey, no, our state disagrees with that. We don't think it's constitutional. We don't like it for our state. This is not what our people want. And then it can go and see if it's to the Supreme Court, see if it's actually unconstitutional.
Now, before I go any further, it is super important for you to understand that this case came to the justices because of President Trump's executive order to limit birthright citizenship, and because multiple federal court judges across the country issued nationwide injunctions.
Not multiple. 5. 5 out of, I forget what she said. We just watched it. 5 out of how many? It's crazy. It's like, it's like you have a group of 10 people. Okay, we're going to vote on what to do. And then the group of 10 people votes, and 7 or 8 of them, say this is what we want to do. And then the other 2 are like, no, we disagree, so we're going to stop everybody from doing it. It's like, wait. How do you have the power? There's only 2 of you that think this way. The rest of us agreed. How do you have the power to overrule all of us? It's ridiculous.
To block that from happening, the Trump administration was not able to make those changes to limit which babies born in America get to be U.S. citizens. Now, I want to make it extremely clear,
I like this. It's funny how she says he does not have that power. He does have that power under the executive order. Okay, and if it wasn't challenged, it would have gone into effect. So because it was challenged, okay, now we have to see if it's actually constitutional.
Justices in today's ruling did not rule on whether Trump's birthright citizenship order was constitutional or not. And they did put a 30-day hold on any implementation of today's ruling. But today's ruling does mean that the birthright citizenship case now goes back to all those federal court judges who issued these nationwide injunctions, and those judges are going to have to decide who their injunction will now apply to.
Yeah, so also that means the 30 days stay or moratorium, wherever it's called. So that means in 30 days from yesterday, when it happened, or yesterday, 2 days ago. It was a day or two ago. I think it was yesterday. Uh, but so in 30 days, technically, Trump could push and start having it take effect. He might not do that. He might be just waiting for the Supreme Court to rule on it. Because I think he's going to try to do it that way to be fair to everyone, because he doesn't want to start doing it and then have the court say, "Oh no, it's unconstitutional." But I really don't think he's going to do anything on the birthright citizenship until after the Supreme Court rules, because I think he understands that it's a big issue that needs to go to the Supreme Court.
Will it just apply to the plaintiffs who are suing? Meaning, if your state didn't sue, or if you weren't part of a class action lawsuit, or you didn't personally sue the president over his birthright citizenship order, will this injunction apply to you?
See, this lady, she tries to act smart and talk smart, but if she really thinks this, she's just stupid. No, the the district courts can still do a ruling for their district. They can do a district-wide injunction. They cannot do a nationwide, because nation is not in their purview. It's not, it's outside of their jurisdiction. But in their district, they can do it. So I don't know if this lady's just purposely being stupid or misleading or what.
We just don't know. So you might be wondering,
yeah, we do know.
How will federal judges determine whether their injunction to block a president is narrow enough to also comply with this new ruling from the Supreme Court? Justice Barrett writes, injunctions can only provide complete relief to each plaintiff with standing to sue. Now, the ruling doesn't say that federal judges can never issue nationwide injunctions ever again, but they are going to become much rarer than we've seen over the last few decades.
No, that's pretty much what the ruling says. The ruling says that they can't. They can't make nationwide injunctions anymore. That is what the ruling says.
And it's possible that we're going to start seeing more class action lawsuits with larger groups of plaintiffs. So if an injunction is ordered,
yeah, those class action lawsuits are going to be from NGOs and stuff like that of the opposite party that's not in power. So right now it's going to be a whole bunch of Democrat NGOs and, rich people. They're like, no, we don't want this. We don't like it. We're going to do a class action and get a whole bunch of, hey, come on. You know how it works.
It would apply to as many people as possible. Now, I'm sure you're already thinking, that's going to be chaos. How can that be?
No,
some rules would apply to some people, but not to others? How is that going to work?
Based on district.
Exactly. And that's the point liberal Justice Sonia.
That's how it's supposed to work. They're supposed to only be affecting their district.
Sotomayor makes in her dissent. She writes, no right is safe in the new legal regime the court creates. Today, the threat is to birthright citizenship. Tomorrow, a different administration may try to seize firearms from law-abiding citizens or prevent people of certain faiths from gathering to worship. The majority holds that, absent cumbersome class action litigation, courts cannot completely enjoin even such plainly unlawful policies unless doing so is necessary to afford the formal parties complete relief.
Now, see, that's bull. Because you can't say it's an unlawful policy unless it's ruled on by the Supreme Court that it was unlawful. That's like saying you're guilty before you get, before you go to court. It's like, come on. And then she tries to put in there that, oh, no, in the future they could get rid of guns and religion. All you conservatives should be concerned that we're going to get rid of guns and religion, and you're not going to have any rights unless you stick with us Democrats.
That holding renders constitutional guarantees meaningful in name only for any individuals who are not parties to a lawsuit. Because I will not be complicit in so grave an attack on our system of law, I dissent. Lastly, before you start cheering a big victory for
See, once again, even the Supreme Court, frickin' liberal, frickin' Democrat mayor lady, frickin' is trying to mislead the public. Trying to be like, no, we have no course of action anymore. States don't have any course of action. She's trying to frame Trump as a dictator. That's not what happened.
President Trump here, and there is no doubt this is a victory for President Trump. Remember, as I always say,
it's a victory for democracy.
What goes around comes around. This means ultimately, when a Democrat becomes the president, this ruling will also apply to him or her too. So even if that Democratic president issues an executive order that on its face may be unconstitutional, like taking away your firearms, unless you personally or you as part of
may seem unconstitutional. May seem unconstitutional. Not at face value is unconstitutional, because you can't, you're trying to be like, oh yeah, we're ruling on it. You know, all the people that say, oh, it's unconstitutional, blah, 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 blah. You don't have the right to say that. That's for the Supreme Court to decide.
of a class action or your state sues, it'll be very hard for the federal courts to stop that order from impacting you. The Supreme Court just ruled generally.
See, she's trying to use fear tactics. She's trying to be like, no, you are going to be a victim because of this. A victim. You voted for the president to do something, and now you're a victim because we're not going to let the president that you voted for do things. Wait, what? Yeah, no, let's see a Democrat try to come in and take away guns. Yeah, let's go ahead and see that. No, you'll have many class action lawsuits. Once again, from, NGOs, place like that. I'm sure what's the name? Oh my god, I forgot the name of them. The American Riflemen Association. I don't know. They got a couple gun organizations that sue about that type of stuff all the time, and that's their whole thing, is to fight for the right to bear arms. So, we got them on both sides, but no, it's okay. And then the states that care, they'll say, hey, no, and then it'll go to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will decide, and then even if it went into effect in your state, it will be reversed, because that's how it works. I mean, did all these people never go to school and learn about, how the government works? All right, y'all. That's it for today. Don't worry. If you're already a citizen, they're not going to take it from you. They're not going to take it from you. There's, grandfather clause, you're grandfathered in. Don't worry about it. That's definitely all for today. I'll see y'all next time.